Iruma Suzuki, a 14-year-old Japanese boy incapable of refusing polite requests, works hard to support his scumbag parents. He is suddenly kidnapped to the netherworld by the demon Sullivan after Iruma's parents sold his soul. Sullivan wishes to adopt Iruma as his beloved grandson, since his friends Levi and Belial always boast about their grandsons and he is jealous. Iruma agrees and is enrolled in demon school where he must keep his human identity secret or risk being eaten by his classmates. Iruma attends the opening ceremony and learns Sullivan is the school's director. First-year representative Asmodeus Alice tries to give his speech, but Sullivan makes Iruma do it instead. Iruma reads a speech provided by Sullivan, terrifying and impressing the students as the speech was actually a dangerous spell to prevent Iruma from failing or embarrassing himself. Asmodeus challenges Iruma to a duel for insulting him, but Iruma, having been raised by scumbag parents who constantly put him in dangerous situations, has developed an almost superhuman ability to dodge out of the way. The other students assume Iruma refuses to fight back because he considers Asmodeus weak. When a girl in the audience is almost hurt, Iruma saves her, but the effects of Sullivan's spell prevents him from falling forwards and he accidentally knocks Asmodeus unconscious by throwing him backwards in a German suplex. The story spreads throughout the school, making Iruma famous. Iruma is shocked when Asmodeus happily declares himself Iruma's servant. Sullivan is delighted that Iruma seems to have a bright future in the netherworld. During breakfast with Sullivan, Iruma demonstrates his ability to consume truly shocking amounts of food. He tries to refuse to attend demon school but decides to go when Sullivan reveals he has brought even more thoughtful gifts for him. Asmodeus informs Iruma that they must summon their magical familiars, and the strength of the familiar will determine their demonic rank and which class they are placed in. Their advisor, Nabarus Kalego, immediately dislikes Iruma for being Sullivan's grandson. To summon a familiar, the students perform a ceremony using their blood on summoning parchments marked with Nabarus's demonic seal to prevent cheating. Asmodeus summons a fire-breathing Gorgon snake. Iruma tries a summoning, but as he has no demonic power in his blood, the familiar summoning accidentally becomes a demon summoning, using the power of Nabarus's demonic seal, causing Nabarus to be summoned as Iruma's familiar in the embarrassing form of a small, cute, fluffy owl, with bat wings and horns. Despite it being an accident, the other students assume Iruma must have been more powerful than Nabarus to be able to bind him as a familiar, thus increasing Iruma's fame even more. Sullivan happily informs them familiar summoning contracts are unbreakable and last an entire year. Nabarus becomes bedridden from shock and Iruma's rank is left undetermined. Iruma meets a hyperactive student named Valak Clara, whom Asmodeus warns Iruma not to speak to. Asmodeus explains Clara is a weirdo who people try to avoid. Clara becomes attached to Iruma, who is compelled to play with her after she says please. Clara reveals she has magical pockets which can copy any object she sees. Iruma learns other students have been manipulating Clara into creating free food for them. Clara sadly reveals she has gotten used to having to bribe people to be her friends. When she tries to bribe Iruma, he refuses, upsetting her, until Iruma reveals he wants to be her friend without bribes. This makes Clara so happy that when the other students try manipulating her again, she throws a drinks machine at them before using Asmodeus as a target for her paint dodgeball. Iruma is unsure if Asmodeus and Clara are his friends since he never had friends before. Iruma learns that a student rank controls what food they can order. Clara gets in trouble with the snack stall owner who considers her replicating pockets a form of shoplifting. Nabarus arrives to settle the matter, only for Clara to trick Iruma into summoning Nabarus, turning him back into an owl. Iruma, Clara, and Asmodeus flee while the stall owner traps Nabarus and demands payment for the shoplifted items. Iruma asks Asmodeus and Clara if they are friends, but is surprised to learn demons have no concept of friends, but they agree to be friends anyway. Sullivan holds a faculty meeting where it is decided Iruma, Clara, and Asmodeus will all be placed in the misfit class for problem children. Sullivan reveals to Iruma he put him in a class of troublemakers to help him not stand out, along with Asmodeus and Clara so he wouldn't be alone. Iruma immediately runs afoul of booby traps set by his new classmates who wagered on whether he would survive. Iruma meets Sabnok Sabro, a tall muscular delinquent who plans on becoming the next Demon King. Iruma learns that there are 10 demonic ranks, with Yod or 10th rank being strongest, and the Demon King is always chosen from among the Yod. Sabnok admits he was placed in the misfit class for trying to defeat a teacher. Nabarus arrives and sets them a task to determine their ranks, a race through a dangerous valley, though Nabarus warns them to avoid the guardian beast that is in a particularly foul mood. Most students opt to fly, except for Iruma, who has no demon wings and simply falls off the cliff when pushed by an impatient Nabarus. Sabnok flies straight for the Guardian, hoping to defeat it and get a high rank. Iruma is carried off by demonic crows that accidentally drop him in the Guardian's nest with its baby, who is injured. Iruma tries to help the baby and discovers his human blood can heal demons' injuries instantly. The grateful baby decides to fly Iruma to the flag as a thank you. Elsewhere, Sabnok admits he made a mistake by trying to defeat the Guardian as it easily overpowers him. Sabnok reveals he wants to become Demon King to prove himself better than his pacifist older brother. Iruma suddenly lands in front of him, pacifying the Guardian by showing its child is healed. Sabnok assumes Iruma is somehow powerful enough not to be afraid of the Guardian. At the finish line, Asmodeus places first and Clara, riding on Asmodeus' shoulders, comes second. Iruma and Sabnok end up last despite riding on the Guardian's back. Nibirius explains a rank owl will provide everyone with rank badges. Sabnok declares Iruma his rival. Asmodeus earns Delet, 4th rank. Clara earns Gimel, 3rd rank, and Sabnok earns Bet, 2nd rank. Iruma, instead of a badge, receives a gold ring. A startled Sabnok recalls a prophecy that the next Demon King will make other demons his servants, heal injuries with his blood, have been a foreigner, and wear Salomon's ring. Iruma freaks out when a black flame demon appears from the ring and starts draining power from his classmates. Nibirius senses the ring threatening him and moves to sever Iruma's entire arm, but is stopped by Sullivan, who scolds him. Sullivan explains the ring is actually the gluttonous feeder ring that eats magic power, then pacifies it by feeding it some of his power. Iruma's rank is undetermined, and by default receives the lowest rank, Aleph. Meanwhile, his taming of the Guardian and his ring attacking his classmates increases his fame yet again. Iruma's fame draws the attention of the student council. In botany class, the students learn to use magic to grow demonic plants. Sabnok produces a feral flower that eats everything it sees, Asmodeus an elegant flower with flaming petals, and Clara a mutated flower beyond rational description. Having no magic, Iruma says the spell as a joke, while thinking of his home in Japan. Sullivan's magic suddenly bursts from his ring as Sullivan calls Iruma to explain that the ring lets Iruma use magic, but Sullivan has forgotten to set a limit on its output. Iruma's overpowered seed explodes into a giant cherry blossom tree, destroying the greenhouse. Student Council President Azazel Amiri recognizes the tree as a human plant and suspects Iruma is a human. Amiri privately reveals most demons believe humans do not exist, but her family secretly owns a library of sacred relics, Japanese manga, and is obsessed with the First Love Memory series. But as she cannot read Japanese, has mistakenly concluded it is a manual of human love spells. Iruma tries to clean up the falling cherry blossoms, despite Clara making more mess. As he leaves, Iruma turns a corner and accidentally knocks Amiri over. Amiri, recognizing the similarity to a romance scene from First Love Memories, believes Iruma is trying to make her fall in love with him, using human magic, and concludes he must be human. Iruma assumes Amiri is angry, while Amiri assumes she is in a magical love duel. Amiri realizes he can read Japanese, and rather than reveal he is human, drags him to her office and asks him to read the story out loud for her. After Iruma finishes, an embarrassed Amiri puts her number on his phone so she can ask him to read for her again. Iruma can't decide if he prefers his old life or his new life. Opera informs him it may be possible to visit the human world if he becomes a high-ranking demon. Iruma is summoned by Amiri, making Asmodeus and Clara suspicious. Amiri decides, based on First Love Memories, that spending time with Iruma counts as a date. Asmodeus and Clara buy detection warding glasses to hide while following Iruma. Asmodeus assumes Iruma is hatching a plan to take over the student council, while Clara assumes they are excluding her from a new game. After learning about ambition from First Love Memories and listening to Amiri's plans for the future, Iruma realizes his pushover personality had prevented him from having any ambition of his own. Asmodeus tries to stop Clara from ruining Iruma's plans of taking over the school. Iruma struggles to come up with a dream, so Amiri urges him to raise his rank as a temporary goal. Clara breaks into the room to take Iruma back, assuming Amiri was trying to steal him. As time passes and Iruma spends more time with Amiri, Clara becomes increasingly jealous, so Sabnok suggests she lure Iruma with her feminine wiles. As Clara has no feminine wiles, she joins seduction class to learn sexiness, but the succubus teacher, Rame, determines she only has 2% sexiness, making her impossibly innocent. Clara tries to use seduction methods on Iruma, but he assumes she is playing games. Clara becomes depressed but returns to normal after her mother kisses her forehead. The next day, Clara tries to use a kiss attack, but Iruma avoids it with his superhuman dodging skill, while Clara ends up receiving detention from Nibirius. Clara admits she has zero sex appeal, and resigns herself to losing Iruma, until Iruma innocently reveals he does think of her as a girl. Restoring her confidence enough, she declares she will make Iruma fall for her. Iruma feels an unusual thump in his heart as she pulls him along holding his hand. Rame happily observes that Clara's sexiness has been risen to 10%. Iruma decides to get serious about raising his rank from a Lef first to Bet second. Iruma asks Asmodeus to help him climb the ranks, and Asmodeus overreacts and begins planning to make Iruma a Yode, 10th rank, and rule the school, though Iruma assures him he would be content with making it to Bet. Asmodeus agrees, assuming Iruma has a complicated reason for becoming Bet, and explains the best way is to score well on an upcoming rank promotion exam, based on Execution Cannonball, a dangerous competition similar to human dodgeball. Iruma assumes he will do well with his ability to avoid danger until he realizes the other students are allowed to use their demonic powers. He asks Sullivan for training and learns he can use the ring to use magic for the exam, but Iruma decides he wants to compete with his own power, and not magic borrowed from Sullivan. Sullivan strengthens Iruma's hands to give him a fair chance, then leaves the physical training to Opera. Iruma struggles to catch the ball as his instinct is still to dodge, but he refuses to give up and even gets help from Asmodeus and Clara. After a week, he still can't catch the ball, but Opera assures Sullivan Iruma is definitely having fun. Eventually, Iruma manages to catch the ball, and Opera informs Sullivan Iruma is ready to take the exam. The day of the exam arrives. Nibirius explains their ranks will be increased based on the opponents they defeat, but only if they are the winning team. Asmodeus is assigned to a different team from Iruma, but decides to help him. The exam is instant chaos as Iruma's classmates use their powers, while Clara floods the court with multiple balls. Iruma manages to catch the real ball, only to realize he never learned how to throw it. Sabnok, irritated that Asmodeus appears to be daydreaming, tries to strike him, but Asmodeus strikes Sabnok out instead. Asmodeus continues to strike players out without thinking until only he and Iruma remain. Asmodeus is put in a tight spot. If he lets Iruma win, he could be helping Iruma gain a rank, but also undermine all his hard work. After a moment of hesitation, he decides to throw with his whole power. Amiri arrives to watch the exam for herself. Iruma overcomes his fear and catches the powerful throw, but he cannot stop it, and instead he spins in a circle to redirect the ball's momentum back at Asmodeus, who is struck by his own power. Nibirius, impressed by Iruma's tactic, promotes his rank to Bet second. Amiri congratulates Iruma on finally gaining ambition. Iruma thanks Opera for all his training, upsetting an emotional Sullivan who realizes he did very little to help Iruma at all. A new teacher, Boss Robin, begins teaching the Misfit class about the importance of bonding with one's familiar. Asmodeus and Sabnok summon their Gorgon Snake and Kelby Horse, and Clara summons her Falful, a rare familiar whose actions are mysterious. Iruma tries to refuse until Boss says please, so Iruma summons a furious Nibirius. Boss reminds Iruma that he needs to control his familiar according to the rules written by Nibirius. Nibirius decides to make Iruma the best summoner in class, even though it involves playing embarrassing games to promote trust. Iruma sincerely apologizes, so Nibirius asks why Iruma didn't summon him to fight the Valley Guardian. Iruma explains it was so neither Nibirius nor the Guardian would get hurt. Asmodeus and Sabnok get into a fight, so Nibirius defeats their familiars and angrily informs the students that familiars are powerful, violent monsters, only kept in check by their contracts. The best summoners should train their familiars while also fearing them, as Iruma does. Nibirius also forces Boss to rethink his teaching style. Iruma learns about the Battlers, the group of students with similar interests who form groups to help each other raise their ranks, like school clubs. Iruma decides to join one of the Battlers to find a new goal and possibly raise his rank again. Asmodeus tries to prepare Iruma as the senior Battlers begin their rookie hunt, an intensely terrifying stampede by older students to recruit first-year students into their groups. As the hunt begins, most seniors try to recruit Asmodeus. The hunt is so brutal, the first years are put in actual physical danger. Amiri and the student council monitor most of the mayhem while Iruma realizes that Amiri is actually the student council president. Amiri surprises everybody by inviting Iruma to join the council's battler. Nibirius announces a 3-day trial period where students can try numerous battlers before deciding which to join permanently. Clara shows repeated interest in Raim's succubus battler. Iruma struggles to decide as his fame means he's invited to join every battler. His ring suddenly activates and drags him through the air, dropping him on Ami Kirito, the recruiter for the magical apparatus battler, whose necklace is made from the same metal as the ring. Iruma visits several battlers, most of which are dangerous in some way and unsuitable. Sullivan alters Iruma's ring so he can choose the level of magic he wants to use, Devil, Demon, or Ifrit, and a level for emergencies only, Pandurula. After testing the ring at the Execution Cannonball battler, Amiri texts Iruma, reminding him to visit the council battler before the trial period is over. Iruma is caught up in an explosion caused by one of Kirito's apparatuses. The council members are confused over Amiri's sudden enthusiasm for battler recruitment. Iruma texts her that he won't be able to visit the council after Kirito's explosion, but Amiri believes finding out she is the council president has scared him away. Kirito explains that he researches and creates magic items, but his magic power is so weak he cannot use the items he creates. His goal is to allow weaker demons to stand up to higher level demons that mistreat them. Iruma decides to join his battler and is followed by Clara and Asmodeus. Iruma does later visit the student council to Amiri's delight, at least until Iruma explains that he joined another battler. With the trial period over, the school prepares for their battler party for battlers to welcome their new recruits and meet their parents. Sullivan must attend the 13's dinner, a meeting for the Netherworld's 13 greatest heroes, all of whom are concerned the Netherworld is falling into chaos without a demon king, and believe it is time to raise either Sullivan, Levi, or Belial to the throne. Levi and Belial agree Sullivan should take the throne, but Sullivan refuses as he would have less time to spend with Iruma. Henry, one of the 13 and Amiri's father, is forced to arrest Sullivan after finding evidence Sullivan illegally visited the human world. Sullivan is questioned by Demon Border Control. Most of the first years panic at the thought of their parents visiting the school. Sullivan appoints Nibirius as temporary school director, while the rest of the staff wonders what Sullivan did to get arrested. Kirito reveals that all battlers give presentations competing for prizes, maybe even a rise in rank, but the magical apparatus battler has such a small budget they normally stand no chance, until Iruma is inspired to create fireworks. As the testing requires darkness, Kirito decides they must stay at school overnight. While trying to create gunpowder, Kirito reveals he has an ability to create magical barriers, the only reason he survives so many explosions. Iruma asks Amiri to loan him one of her manga so Kirito can see what a firework should look like, but she refuses, at least until she realizes she would get to see real fireworks. After they successfully create fireworks, they exhaust themselves with a pillow fight, utilizing Iruma's dodge ability and Kirito's barriers. Kirito is later contracted by a powerful demon named Ball that can use lightning magic, revealing he's the reason Sullivan has been arrested and he has been plotting with Kirito to create a machine to destroy the school. It is announced the battler party will last 3 days, and the first place prize will be an increase in rank for the battler members and an increase in rank for the battler president. Kirito continues working on his machine, which flashbacks show he was only able to complete due to Iruma's help, and that his powerful demon friend plans to use his machine to kill as many students as possible. As Kirito works in his hidden workshop, he is suddenly interrupted by Iruma, who has been dragged through the air by his ring, searching for Kirito's necklace. Kirito decides to reveal to Iruma that the secret workshop is hidden on the school roof behind one-way, soundproof glass, and that his plan to help the weak stand up to the strong includes the school bell, which will be rung to begin the party. Still not understanding Kirito's meaning, Iruma urges him to try to win first prize with their fireworks to prove they don't need to be strong to win. Kirito appears happy and he and Iruma are so alike. With the preparations over, the battler party can finally begin, to Kirito's delight. The party eve begins, a festival the night before the main competitions start. As fireworks require darkness, Iruma and the others decide to scout their competition. Iruma knocks the yakisoba battler out of the competition by devouring their famous ogre-sized serving, leaving them with no ingredients. Iruma is warned by his classmates that his main competitors are the new magic battler, who will attempt to conjure water from a stone, the game battler with their virtual sorcery hat to allow people to experience virtual reality adventures, as well as the underwater circus and the magic beast battles. Asmodeus reveals they will set off their main firework as the school bell rings to signal the start of the competition. Clara accidentally lights the fuse, but when it misfires, they realize their biggest firework is missing. Kirito takes the stolen firework to his workshop. Amiri's father possesses evidence of Sullivan kidnapping Iruma, given to him by Ball, the powerful demon helping Kirito. As the sun sets, Kirito destroys his necklace, covering the entire school with multiple barriers preventing people from being able to move around. Iruma finds himself separated from Asmodeus by Clara and a barrier while Kirito begins his plan. Sullivan senses the barriers appearing. Iruma realizes the barriers are Kirito's. Nibirius finds the barriers are self-repairing, meaning they could have only been cast by a Tet, 9th rank, and can likely only be fully destroyed by a Yod, 10th rank, like Sullivan, meaning his arrest was arranged beforehand. Nibirius manages to move by breaking barriers and moving through before they can repair, and has another teacher announce to the students that the barriers are a surprise maze event by the new magic and game battlers. Nibirius begins researching all demons with barrier creation abilities. When most of the students make it to the courtyard easily, Nibirius worries they were manipulated into going to the courtyard. Kiryu loads the firework into his school destroyer machine, but suddenly realizes Iruma is heading to the lab, somehow finding his way towards Kiryu even though Kiryu destroyed his necklace. A flashback reveals Asmodeus deduced Kiryu must have been planning his attack for years, and now is using a map of the school and one of Kiryu's magical apparatus, copied by Clara, to guide Iruma through the barriers. Nibirius identifies Kiryu as the likely suspect and orders the teachers to capture him. Part of the school collapses and Amiri saves a student from being killed. Iruma finally reaches the lab. Iruma reaches the workshop where Kiryu reveals his plans to use the firework to destroy the school. Kiryu reveals the Ami family are famous for their barriers and magical strength, but when he was born with weak magic, he was sent to the Garden of Delinquents for problem children. Despite being bullied, he made a friend, but when bullies stole her earring and threw it in a river, Kiryu tried to catch it with a barrier but failed, devastating her. That was when Kiryu realized he perversely enjoyed watching people's despair. Ball, who believed demons are too nice compared to their society's evil past, helped Kiryu plan to destroy Babylos as a symbol of their weakened society, while Kiryu plans on enjoying Iruma's despair when Clara and Asmodeus die. However, when Iruma seems unconcerned and calmly removes the firework, Kiryu is confused. Iruma explains that thanks to his childhood, he almost never feels despair anymore. Kiryu realizes that he and Iruma are not alike at all. Iruma unlocks his ring's Ifrit mode to throw the firework into the sky, but it hits with the barrier. With the explosion seconds away, Iruma breaks a promise he made to Sullivan and unlocks the ring's Pandarula mode, obliterating the barrier and exploding the firework in the sky, where it delights all the watching students. With Iruma passed out, Kiryu saves him from falling off the roof, and despite raging that his plan is ruined, he admits defeat and that Iruma is a better demon than he is. It is revealed that as Iruma was talking with Kiryu, Boss Robin used archery magic to shoot a warning note to Sullivan. Sullivan then broke out of prison and saw Iruma use Pandarola to destroy the barrier, forcing Sullivan to save the school from falling debris. The teachers apprehended Kiryu, though he does remind Iruma to beware of other demons wanting to have an evil society. He's taken down by Demon Border Control to be interrogated. Sullivan shows Iruma that his firework was immensely powerful with the students, though he is scolded by Amiri who wanted to watch the firework together. Iruma shares credit for the firework with Asmodeus, Clara, and Kiryu. As the battler party starts, the students vote for their favorite battlers just as their parents turn up for the party. Iruma prepares the remaining fireworks before meeting 4 of Clara's 5 siblings and her mother, who are all as eccentric as she is. Asmodeus is caught by his embarrassing mother, Amaryllis, a demon lord of seduction, who showers Asmodeus with love and affection. Sullivan and Opera arrive to attend the festival with Iruma, causing general chaos as they do. As the sun sets, they set off fireworks, and Iruma declares his new family to be his pride and joy, before insisting on posing for a photograph with Sullivan and Opera. With the voting over, the winner of the Battler Party is decided. The closing spectacular begins with the handing out of prizes. The Succubus Battler receives an upgraded club room, the new Magic Battler a year's supply of Black Holy Water, while the grand prize of rank increase is given to the Broadcast Battler. Nibirius announces that, for unspecified reasons, an extra award has been created, the prize for which is one member of the Battler will go up by 1 rank. The winners are announced to be the Magical Apparatus Battler, despite being disqualified due to Kiryu's schemes, with Iruma getting the rank increase to Gimel, 3rd rank. Iruma worries that he has spent too much time standing out instead of hiding. Amiri's father, Henry, takes an interest in Iruma. Amiri summons Iruma to read manga, but he rushes out after seeing her father. Henry confronts Iruma, not knowing why Sullivan is so attached to him. Henry tells Iruma he met a human once before, and legally returned them to the human world. He begins to ask if Iruma wants to go home, but is interrupted by Amiri, who recounts all of Iruma's recent achievements and claims he's an outstanding demon. Suspicious, Henry asks how Amiri knows Iruma, and she awkwardly blurts out that they spend time alone, talking about love, shocking Henry into semi-consciousness. Asmodeus and Clara tell Iruma they know something happened with Kiryu, but they're happy to wait for Iruma to tell them. Iruma decides he doesn't want to return to the human world and must work harder at hiding his human identity. Iruma's rank increase gets more newspaper coverage than Kuromu, a Dem doll. Asmodeus explains Dem dolls are vital, as teenage demons go through an evil cycle of destructive behavior, so they're distracted by popular entertainment, which converts their impulses into healthy excitement. Kuromu is revealed to be Crocell Karoli, a quiet girl from the misfit class who was embarrassed by her cute idol persona. Despite her siblings being better academically, Crocell found other demons treated her kindly because she was so cute, so she became Kuromu to beat her siblings and earn a higher rank than her mother. However, since Iruma arrived, he has been in the newspapers more often than her, making her jealous. At the next concert, she furiously realizes Iruma is in the audience, having received tickets from the broadcast battler. Coincidentally, Iruma wins a ticket to meet Kuromu in person. A furious Kurosel suggests to keep her identity a secret. However, Iruma already knew who she was due to her distinctive hands. As her glasses contain identity detection warding, Kurosel decides Iruma must be a superfan to notice such small details, but is surprised when Iruma admits he's jealous of how well she manages to stay hidden, as he's tired of standing out by accident. Realizing that Iruma is more popular than her without trying only makes Kurosel more upset, and she passes out with a fever from overusing her ice magic. Kurosel's manager, Mal, decides to cancel the show as cooling Kurosel's body back to normal requires a family member, none of whom will arrive in time. Amiri attends the concert with a ticket from her father, who's working security. Kurosel has a nightmare about disappointing her family, then wakes up after she would have been on stage, only to realize Iruma saved the show by dressing as a girl and performing an opening act, with Clara and Asmodeus dressed like Dem dolls, in order to let Kurosel recover. Amiri suspects the Dem doll on stage looks like Iruma, but convinces herself it couldn't be. Kurosel realizes Iruma, who hates standing out, was willing to go on stage to save her career, and decides he isn't so bad. She thanks Iruma for his help, but then forces him to stay on stage performing for the entire concert. Afterwards, Mal tells Kurosel her entire family actually came to help while she was asleep, making her incredibly happy. Mal also secretly reveals to Iruma Kurosel's family love her and have watched every concert on TV. They just cannot come in person because they also pass out when overexcited. Back at school, Kurosel warns Iruma if he reveals her identity, he will regret it. She also asks if they can still be friends despite hating all the attention the female Iruma got in the newspapers. Iruma predicts he will have a normal day. After breakfast with Sullivan, he watches Asmodeus and Clara race to school, has homeroom with Nabirius, and attends normal lessons. After school, he reads Amiri more manga, which contains lines about keeping secrets. Amiri remembers the female Dem doll who looked like Iruma, and nervously asks if he has anything bothering him, and he says he doesn't. Then when handing him a snack, she touches his hand and her heart beats wildly. Iruma goes home, but suddenly realizes he now fits into demon society, and worries it no longer bothers him. Iruma becomes unusually withdrawn as he considers the offer Henry made to erase his memory and send him home. Asmodeus and Clara decide food will cheer him up, and sneak into the school kitchen. However, they end up arguing and decide to both make meals and see which one Iruma prefers. Clara misunderstands her mother's claim love is the most important ingredient and lovingly crafts a bizarre meal, whereas Asmodeus decides on an elegant fish dish, despite having ichthyophobia, which is the fear of fish. In the morning, Iruma finds both dishes work together to become even tastier. Asmodeus and Clara are forced to agree after both trying the dishes, and declare it a draw after becoming friends again. Though a few minutes later, they are arguing again. Iruma finally decides he wants to stay in the netherworld after all. And that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you at the next one.